welcome back. It is day 8 of the 12 days of page turners. And as promised, I have 4 and a video recording of an author, more holiday goodies, because you guys know the best thing that you can give anyone this holiday season is a book to escape reality, take them new things, educate them in different things. That's the best gift that you can give this holiday season. But that's enough for me. Let's get here from some of these authors. So JP, you're up first. Come on. Hey JP, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. Happy holidays, everyone.
Oh, happy holidays. So tell everybody what genre you write in and the title of some of your books.
Terrific. I write urban fantasy or supernatural thrillers, and I've got 2 series out currently. One is called The Gift Legacy, and that book has 7 books. That series has 7 books in it. And the other series is called The Dark Dream series, and it's got 3 books in it. And these series are very similar in that they're fantasy, but the Dark Dreams is much faster paced. And so one is about a woman who can fly, and the other is about a woman who can slip into time and change history.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we have to pick one to dabble in, but I'm probably going to do both because I'm selfish like that. So I want to know about the one that can fly. Is that just like if you had any superpower, that's what it would be? Or how did you kind of come up with that?
Well, that book series came out of a dream that I have that I can fly. I always have this dream where I can fly. And so I wanted to recreate that reality for people, or the unreality, the escape that perhaps you can fly. So that was the Secret Sky story. That is the first one of that series. And then her adventures continue throughout that series, and she gets into a lot of trouble. And she, of course, is bucking against authority, the people that are ruling her kind, that kind of a scenario. The second series is about a woman who's born with this birthmark that wraps around her body, and it's a blood red birthmark. And when it starts to disappear, she's about 25 years old, and she's thrilled that it's disappearing. But she goes and delivers flowers out to a local university, and a professor sees the mark on her hand and says, "That's not a birthmark, that's a blood mark, and it's protecting you from someone." So she has to figure out what she's being protected from before that last mark disappears. So the 2 very different series, which is going to tie into what my special promo is that I'm offering only to your listeners.
Oh my goodness. Well, I asked about the superpower one because that would be mine, is to fly, because then I feel like I would get places so much quicker and I wouldn't have to sit in traffic. Like I hate traffic. So I'm like, if I could fly, that'd be great. You know, I could just pop over.
I completely agree. And if you could smite people as well as flying, that would be the perfect combination. You know, somebody cuts you off in traffic and you can just set them off to the side.
I know I would get in trouble, so maybe we shouldn't have that, because I would be in trouble. It would be so bad. Be like, oh, there goes that Amy again. You know, it just no. But you have me really intrigued about the blood mark that's disappearing, that's wrapped around her body. I do have a question for that one, and I hope it doesn't give anything away. If it does, you can be like, oh, Amy, hush, and we're not going into that, and that's fine. But you said that it's slowly disappearing, but it's protecting her from someone. So is it like multiple someones? And like when that person's like dead or she's moved away from that person, it disappears? Or like, is it just one person?
I'm sorry. I was frozen there for a second.
Oh, it was a good pause. I didn't even know you were frozen. It never freezes like that. No, I was asking about the blood mark, and you said it wraps around her body and it's protecting her from someone. So is it more than one someone's, and like when she gets out of danger from them, it disappears, or is it just one and she's got to figure out why it's disappearing?
She doesn't know at first. She doesn't know. She figures it out fairly, like probably 3/4 of the way through the book. And then it is starting to disappear. By the end of the book, it's almost gone. We don't know whether her protection is gone or not. In the second book, it's called Ghost Mark. So that gives you a little bit of a hint about what happens to the mark.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's dive into, because I love the backstory behind the story, right? I'm a sucker for that because I lived through, you guys, I'm not a writer. You guys all know that. Where did the inspiration for both of these series come from? Was it a dream? Was you just walking down? Were you people watching? It's always something different. So what was your inspiration for these?
Well, the Secret Sky books, the Gift Legacy books, that was all about flying and these dreams recurring that I have wherein I can fly. And I wanted to recreate that. So that's how that started. The second series was actually inspired by an NBC show called Blind Spot. It's off the air now, but I remember very clearly the very opening scene to the very first episode of that show. In it, there is a deserted Times Square. It's dark out. There's a duffel bag that's been placed in the square. Everyone, of course, is cleared out from around it. A bomb tech is approaching this duffel bag, and he is, of course, all padded up with a big mask on. And as he leans down to unzip the bag, from inside, a hand starts to unzip the zipper, and out pops Jamie Alexander, the actress, and she's covered in tattoos from the neck down, completely covered. And that stuck with me for the longest time. It was very compelling for me and interesting. And I thought, what must it be like to live with those markings that aren't of your choosing? So that was the inspiration behind Bloodmark.
Oh, I like it. I remember seeing that and I was always freaked out. I was like, is this chick like a zombie? Like, I'm here for zombies. I was into it if it was. I was like, I don't know this story because I remember I used to watch it. So when you were describing it, I'm like, oh yeah, I used to watch that show. And then I couldn't remember what had happened to it. But I love that there's two very different inspirations for two very different series, which is awesome. So what's next for you? Are you going to dabble in different genres? Are you going to stick within that one? Do you have a new series? What's next for you?
I am definitely sticking with urban fantasy, supernatural. It's where my heart is. It's the books I love to read. It's where I find escape. So that is coming up. That's what I'm going to continue to write about. But I think the next book is going to be perhaps the start of a new series, and it's going to have a lot more magic than I've used before. Magic is my jam. It's what I love to write about. So that's definitely what it's going to be.
Oh, I love it. Write about what makes you happy, right? I'm all for that, 100%. So this is the dying question, okay? Because it's very important. Do you leave your readers on cliffhangers in your books?
I do not. I never do.
Thank you. Thank you. As a reader, thank you.
When we get a book,
we've lost her. She's going to come back, though.
I'm back.
Yay!
Sorry. I live on a tiny island. That's the other thing. And we don't have really good internet. So this is as good as it gets, I'm afraid.
No, you're just fine. I can work with anything. You're just fine. But I want to know kind of, I don't know. I guess when it comes to like your cliffhangers and you don't leave cliffhangers, which high five girl, because as a reader, I thoroughly love that because I'm very impatient. And if you make me wait longer than 6 months, I'm not a happy camper. Like I will read your next book because I'm dying to know. But like my generation is very impatient, right? Where we like to kind of just have things instant, right? It's kind of the downfall of being a millennial. So that's why I'm like, do you leave cliffhangers? Because I don't like those. I'm going to read it still, but I don't like cliffhangers. So I'm glad that you don't. So how long does it take you to write a book in your series?
It takes about 8 months to write it and about 4 months to go through the editing process. So about a year for each book.
Nice. I would expect that for urban fantasy. That's why I was like, yes, I love it. You're like sticking true to that. But JP, as you know, the 12 days is all about holiday promotions. So tell everybody what you're offering this holiday season.
Well, I often get people asking me, if you had to pick a series, which series would you choose to read? And of course, they are both close to my heart and I can never decide. So for you only, for this Christmas, I have put together a first in series set or collection. So you get Secret Sky, which is the first book in the Gift Legacy, and you get Bloodmark, which is the very first book in the Dark Dream series. And they're being offered right now for $2.99 during this whole promo. Both books, so $1.50 per book, and you can get a taste of each of the series.
Wow, and that's just for the listeners of the 12 days. That is so kind, JP. Thank you so much.
It is. I'll loosen it up for the rest of the world after the holidays, but for this time of year, it's just for you.
Oh, well, I feel so special. But JP, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us this evening.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Coming up next, Glenda. How are you?
Good, Amy. How are you?
I am doing good. So tell everybody what genre you write in the title of your book.
Well, I write in self-help, and the title of my book is Courage, Find Your Fire and Ignite Action in Your Life. And yeah, that's exactly what we all need to do is ignite action in our life.
Yes, and have the courage to do it. I always think that's just like having like a strong backbone, which I feel like you kind of slowly develop over years, and as you get older and stuff. Like for me, I'm 31, I just don't care anymore. I'm just like, I'm going to say what's on my mind. Like I just
Good
don't
for
care.
you. Good for you. No, seriously. It's really all about having clarity. And then that allows you to step into your courage. Then you create confidence. Then you create a commitment, and then you also bring in community. And that's really how I see the flow happening. Clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and community. And that's pretty much what the book is about. It's my journey, my story, about being an artist, a musician, and a singer and a songwriter, and how I overcame a lot of challenges. Traveling, touring, you name it. It was crazy, and I thought, I think I'm just going to share my experience of like, how do you do that? Like, how do you put all those things together, and how do you have enough energy to like make the next step, or get that breakthrough, So I just thought I would write about that, and it was a fun journey while I wrote it. So.
Oh yeah, I feel like it's something that's needed, especially for like when college kids kind of enter adulthood, once you graduate and you're kind of out really in the real world, you really kind of need to have that. But I love your title, Global Badass Goddess. And
Goddess.
So we have to talk about that.
Yay. Well, it all started in my kitchen. At Christmas. No. It was crazy. I had a girlfriend that came up to me, and I was standing in the kitchen, and she goes, you're a real badass. And I went, that was like my first thing. I was like, what? And I just really, I thought, you know what, instead of, pushing that away or ignoring that, I thought, I'm going to look at that. And I'm going to honor that. What does that mean? What does it really mean to be a badass, so to speak? And I just thought, I am going to rewrite this, because I think a lot of times people think if you're a badass, you're like hurting somebody, or you're aggressive, or you're a woman that's standing in power, and you're standing in your masculine self. It's like, no, it's really not that. So I decided to take on what that woman said to me and honor that. And I thought, this is what badass means to me. It means being beautiful, accessible, daring, abundant, savvy, and sassy, and you can add sexy if you want. And so
yes.
that's how I define it.
I love that. I feel like that's something that all women need to embrace, is that definition of badass, for sure. I love that.
Absolutely.
So I want to jump back to your self-help book. Yeah. Because I know the blood, sweat, and sometimes tears that go into creating self-help books, right? And you kept saying that it was a fun journey while you were writing it. So what kind of, not necessarily like advice, but kind of like research and stuff went into creating that self-help book? Was it just the way that you lived, and that it had been working for you, or what exactly is that?
Yeah. Well, I based it on breakthroughs. Okay. So if you're going to tell somebody about being clear about something, then you better be clear. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, you better step into that yourself. So it was kind of like a little test for myself, because I didn't consider myself an author. I consider myself a songwriter and a musician. And I had a really good friend that was like, he'd been working on this book for like 10 years. And I thought, how hard can it be? Like, what is that? And I know you guys are like, oh, Merry Christmas. No, I just thought, how hard could it be? And so I thought, different things for different reasons, right? Because you do have to do research depending on what your intention is, your focus or whatever. But for me, it was my journey to having breakthroughs around clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and community, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I can speak to that for myself, And so I took it on as I'm going to do a chapter a day, and I'm going to do that in 15 days. So I said, okay. So I did. So I sat down and I did a chapter every day for about 15 days. I took a break. I went back. I break for, I don't know, a couple of weeks or something. And then I went back, reread through it, sorted it myself. Oh, that doesn't make any sense. That's just a run-on sentence. That's beautiful. No one will understand that, things like that. And then I thought, oh, I'm going to tell stories. I'm going to tell not only anecdotes that people can actually, okay, let me try that, So I did that. And then my music partner that I've been working with on an album with at the time, we had to finish that. So I took a break. It was done, like it was in the can, right? And then, so to speak. And then he moved out to the West Coast. He was in Boston and we were going back and forth. So he moved out to the West Coast. So that took a minute. And then COVID hit. And so I thought, okay, let me do this. So I opened it up and I gave it to a friend of mine that's an amazing female coach. And I had said, would you just read through this, see what you think? She read through it. She said, this has value. And I think you should actually turn it into a book. And I was like, what? A book? Okay. So she turned me on to a beautiful editor and we hit it off. And we sorted certain details out, and she held my hand as a new author, and that's kind of how that got going.
I love it. So do you think that you're going to write another book, or is it's just a one and done?
Krampus will be coming for me. Merry Christmas. No, what I've decided to do is I have an ebook for that, and and then I'll probably do a few more ebooks, but I probably won't go for another book. Maybe I shouldn't speak out loud, but it is Christmas, so I am cheery. I'm my Christmas mug, and it says "Believe."
I love it.
So you never know.
Yeah, you never know. You wouldn't have thought you would write this book. So I'm going to hold out hope for you. I'm going to hold out hope.
Thank you, Amy. You're so sweet. Okay, you have to tell me what you want to know. I'll have to go research it. No, but definitely new music's coming out this next year after Christmas, and I've got my course. So that's going to be a Badass Goddess / Soul on Fire course. So that's going to be a 90-day course with a retreat. So yeah, so that's coming.
Nice. So you have a lot of other things that you're working with. And hey, don't ever say that you weren't a writer at the beginning, because being a songwriter, I feel like, and authors don't come for me, okay? But I feel like in a sense, that's almost harder, because you're telling a story with words while putting like rhythm to it and really making the story kind of come to life in a song form, right? So to me, I feel like that has to be one of the hardest forms of writing, because you get the most criticism for it, because if people don't like it, they will let you know.
Oh, absolutely. No, you are correct. It's really challenging. It was kind of like, remember when Twitter started, and then they, you've got 27 characters. It's kind of like that, actually. When you're writing, you've got to get what you want to say and the mood and the experience across, so you could tell a good story. Because you don't have, this is not, you can't spend 2 pages, So it's just a different modality. So that's all. Yeah.
So it's always been a part of you is what I'm going to say. Writing's always been a part of you, just in
Yes.
different avenues.
Yes. Thank you.
I love it. Well, speaking of hope and the holidays, the 12 days, as you know, is all about holiday promotion. So what are you
Yes.
offering this holiday year?
Well, I'm offering if you, not if, when you actually purchase my book, then what I will do is I will plant a tree for you. And how I do that is I partner with a company called One Tree Planted. And right now I planted 50, 50 trees in Canada, actually, as of a few days ago. And then I planted another 50, and those were based on people that have supported me through my life and working on biodiversity. So that's my action, hence the title. So if you were to go and purchase my book, I do see that, so I know who it is that's purchasing, and I plant a tree for you.
Oh, that's beautiful. We need more trees. That's
Yes.
for sure.
Yes,
I love
absolutely.
trees. I have like 4, 5, 4. I'm gonna say 4 to be safe. 4 in my yard.
Nice.
Me and my husband love trees and plants and stuff.
Yes,
So.
and they love you back, and they give you shade, and they help bugs and birds and all kinds of wonderful things. So they help the
Yes,
biodiversity. And
they are beautiful.
I wish people would do the research before you start chopping down trees. It's like, oh, it's in my way. It's like, really? Well, gosh, that's somebody's home, you know.
I
And
know
they
my little
belong to the
squirrel friends.
planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I know, 100%. Well, thanks for taking time out of your evening to come and hang out with us here on the
Thank
12 days. It's
you.
so much fun
I'm
to
gonna
talk
go.
with you.
I'm gonna go eggnog myself right now.
Yes, there you go. Jonathan, it's your turn. Oh, I unmuted you. Sorry. How are
Hello,
you?
hello. I'm doing all right. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing good. So tell everybody, including me, what genre you write in the title of your book or your books.
So I am a dark fantasy author, and
Oh.
I write books in the Shadows of the Monolith series. And the first one debuted this past fall, and it's called The Amber Menhir, and it explores a fictitious world where a bunch of vampiric intellectuals have enslaved the rest of the world, with the understanding that something terrible is about to happen in the distant, or I shouldn't say about to happen, but in the distant future, and only the magic that the vampires have can save them all. But magic is not cheap, and it's not easy, and it will take everyone's patience and maybe a bit of blood to see them all through this could be mishap.
Oh my gosh. Do you do audiobooks? Like, do you do your own audiobooks? Because that's fabulous.
No, no. The thing is, like, if I narrate my own book, then every character is going to come off as snide and knowing. And I'm like, and on the one hand, I'm here for that, and I kind of like those characters. But on the
Yeah.
other hand, I'm like, there has to be a little bit of authenticity in the weeds, otherwise, like, it comes off as one note. No, my narrator is Jeremy Lee, who I'm actually very proud of. She's like in Street Fighter and Cyberpunk 2077 and Sailor Moon and Pokemon, and she's wonderful and and a heavyweight talent. So maybe one day, if you want a narrator, I'll narrate your book. If you want to have it be especially biting, but not my own.
I get it. But your description of your book was like, I was here for it. I was like, man, is this a movie? Like, I'm here for it 100%. So tell everybody how this idea came about for you. What was your inspiration?
hmm So let's see. I was one of the world's most famous spider biologists, and now I'm one of the world's most infamous spider biologists. And I was traveling around the world, intercepting tropical cyclones, and so like hurricanes or typhoons or wherever all over the world, but they're called tropical cyclones. And so I was basically driving to where the cyclone was about to hit, seeing what kinds of spiders lived in these habitats just before the cyclone strikes, and then see how they prepare for the cyclone, and then what sorts of spiders flourish in the aftermath of these enormous storms that happen all over the globe. And along the way, that sounds really thrilling. You're going to go intercept tropical cyclones and see what spiders are doing. That sounds thrilling. But in real life, that means you just basically spend a lot of time driving. And then when
Yeah.
you get there, when the tropical cyclone hits and you're there when it hits, you're probably not going to have any power. And so you become really wise as to where to spend your Audible credits and what sorts of books you pack with you. And these heavy epic fantasy tomes were basically my therapy and friends and everything else when you're in the field, because it can be quite isolating. And so I kind of always mused that while I was in the field, one day after, in my distant 40s, that I would
Okay.
write in my distant 40s, I would write an epic fantasy novel, and I would write the epic fantasy novel of my fantasies. So like the Queen of Thorns and Cersei are going to throw barbs at each other while having brunch for hundreds of pages. And that's really the sort of genre that I like. Even when I read epic fantasy, those are the moments I live for. But then my career took quite a surprising turn because it became engulfed in one of the world's most obnoxious academic scandals, where people thought maybe I had manipulated data or maybe I was this great giant mastermind. And it turns out it became kind of equivocal in the end, and I was given an opportunity financially to exit that scenario. And it turns out my 40s happened about 6 years early at gunpoint. And so while I was immersed in this, incredibly strange experience, I was like, well, what am I going to do if I'm, secure on one angle, but what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Because I love interacting with people. If people think that every word I say henceforth might not be true. And I was like, wait a minute. What if the next thing that I do, the whole premise of it isn't true. It's fantasy. It's a fictitious world. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can dig my teeth into that, and that's not compromised. And so I began to spin these tales of this weird future where or past, or maybe it's an alternative world where these vampire intellectuals have subjugated the world under the auspices that they alone can save it, but they're going to drink everyone's blood along the way, and maybe they're telling the truth, or maybe they're not. And we have three bright-eyed and bushy-tailed protagonists who are going to enter this magic school, except for, heads up, sweetlings, the evil in this world isn't external. It's not some sort of existential being beyond our walls. It might be the walls themselves. And people who challenge the prevailing order in this world have an aptitude for not standing for very long, and our protagonists become baubles all too soon.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm a fan of vampires, so I'm here for that. Like 100. I'm in that 100%. And the walls, like, I can tell you should do audiobooks because I can picture this. Like, I'm just like, this is plain. I was getting like Silent Hill kind of vibes, and then like Resident Evil, but more like Underworld, not really Resident Evil. And I was like, okay, I'm in for it. I'm here. I love
Some of my
horror.
exes might call me a vampire.
Well, no. Oh my goodness. I'm so
What are
sorry
they
to
doing?
hear about your
Oh,
scandal
no.
and lies about. That's just not nice. See, I don't like rude people.
Well, I mean, like, anything can be a tool if you just ponder it for long enough. And when your house is on fire and you think that everything's destroyed, slow down. Slow down your thinking and move with intentionality. I mean, I literally looked through my life and took an inventory of the skills that I thought, okay, what's compromised? What assets do I have across all currencies? What skills do I have across all currencies? And I literally opened up an Excel document. And then I was like, okay, what do I still have left? What's compromised? What's not? How many years do I have left on Earth from an actuarial analysis? And then from there, I said, okay, among my goals that I could see in my life, what's still achievable? What's not compromised? Or what's even propelled by my past? And frankly, like, New York Magazine took an interest in my book because of this strange past. On the one hand, it was very painful to see that version of myself burned, but on the other, if you're clever about it, almost anything can be leveraged, which just sounds vampiric.
It does, but it's true, right? It's so true. So, yes, as someone that has worked in PR and does book marketing, yes. 100%. I am dying to know two questions. I'm going to start one. Why spiders?
Oh. Well,
Yeah,
I was
that's
studying.
where I'm going.
Yeah, so I was studying venomous snakes before. So I adore things that have PR problems. Give me your broken, and I'm gonna sit around and
Okay.
I adore underdogs, and that includes in the natural world as well. And so like spiders and snakes have PR problems, but then all of the people that I knew that studied venomous snakes were young, and and there weren't a lot of old exemplars that had all of their digits and toes and feet and whatnot. So I decided, I was like, to make my mom sleep a little better at night and to, to keep my phalanges, I should probably switch over to a kind of organism that's equally sort of sinister, but then if it gets out of the cage, like it's not a life-threatening issue. Like I can still
Yeah.
take a spider.
Okay. So yeah, okay. I was curious, but I was like, do you still have like a fascination with spiders? Because I run from them, but to each their own. I understand. And venomous snakes is another thing. I run from those too. So it's just a whole thing. But my next question for you that I'm dying to get an answer to is what is your writing style when you were writing this? Right? Because fantasy, I mean, do you have like maps in another world and like all of that kind of created, or how long did it take you to write this book?
So I wrote the first book in around, drafted it in maybe 4 or 5 months. And then I spent 3 years editing it through multiple rounds of querying and trying to get a literary agent, pitching it to various presses. And I eventually succeeded in obtaining a couple of offers from medium, small size presses or small imprints of larger presses. And then it came to the financial terms. I was like, oh my God, I spent all of this time and all of this energy. And it's like, I think I can take it from here. So I ended up poaching much of my editorial talent from the Big Five and then publishing it myself. But how do I write it? Basically I write 1,500 words a day when I'm writing, and I try to edit a chapter every 2 days when I'm going full tilt. But like I edit the whole book probably a dozen times
Yeah.
before it sees the copy editor or even the line editor, because every single word gets a strip search, every single sentence gets a strip search. So I love those epic fantasies that are 1,200 pages a piece, but I would never allow myself that sort of flexibility. I have the lean epic fantasy in 400 pages. If I can't tell you a succinct and pithy story, fire me.
So are you like, do you have an outline or do you like write by the seat of your pants?
I mean, here's a here's a middle of the road answer. I kind of know the pinch points along the way. Like I know where we're going to end in this book. I know
Right.
what the major like surprise moment's going to be. That oh Henry moment. Then M Night Shyamalan, blah blah blah. Never have you say his name. So like I know what that moment's going to be, and I know how I'm going to seed that. But then, and I know when I start a chapter where I want to be at the end of the chapter, and generally how I think I'm going to get there. But then sometimes I bumbling backward at the end. Sometimes it takes a subtly different path, and I have to take another chapter recovering something, where I find a plot hole while I'm writing that I was like, oh, I have to address this right now. So I have a general schematic of where I'm going,
Mhm.
but then I let it be organic while I'm writing. Although editorially, I'm very analytical. Every single version gets a spreadsheet. I know how many adverbs, I know how many transition verbs, I don't allow myself was or were. Everything is very strict towards myself. And then the ironic thing is when I go back to read my favorite authors, Meeville or Jemison or whoever, I go read their writing and I'm like, I'm being much more permissive as I read as a reader than I would ever be as an author. And so like I find myself, I'm an overly stringent narrator towards myself and a real softy when it comes to everybody else. But actually I kind of favor that disposition.
No, I get it. I feel like we're always the most hardest on ourselves and like more lenient with other people. So I understand that 100%. But Jonathan, tell everybody what your holiday promotion is this holiday season.
Yeah, this is my attempt of trying to make snowflakes fall around me, and
Oh, I like
I'm going to be the nubile age of 38 in just a few days, and so if anyone wants to send me a winter holiday present, that's available. I'm down in Florida, but that's not okay. But for your listeners, not for me, for your listeners, I've got a promotion all of December for a $3.99 ebook for the Amber Minear, and not only that, but I'll give you a sneak peek of the sequel audio from Jeremy Lee for the sequel, The Eggs Inside, which I don't mean like the British baking show. I mean like the parasitic eggs roiling inside of you. And I promise to give you all of those icky sensations, and Jeremy will give them even better.
Oh my goodness. I'm telling you. Okay, I'm going to have to read your book. Fun fact, everybody, I always go broke during the 12 days because I get to talk with you guys, which is fantastic, but I'm a sucker. And so I'm like, oh, yep, I'm here for it. And I buy everybody's books. Like everybody gets books from me every Christmas. Like that's how things go. right? But I'm just a sucker. I'm here for it. Okay. I love it, Jonathan. I love it. I'm so glad I got to meet you and that you got to join us today on the 12 Days of Patience. So thanks for taking time out of your evening to come hang out with us.
Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to all of your books. I too will be reading them all.
I love it. Coming up next is Jenna. How are you?
Hey.
I got you. How are you? You were muted at the beginning. I'm
sorry. Something my husband wishes he had in real life, but he doesn't. All I said was thanks for having me, and I think that's all I said.
No, hey, you know what? My husband would probably agree with your husband that he wishes I had a mute button. Okay. And then generally he says that out loud though, and then I just talk louder. That's like the Italian in me. So I understand 100%. But tell everybody what genre you write in the title of your book.
Well, this is a bit more complicated in that I write in multiple genres.
Nice.
So I write children's literature. And when I say that, I mean from picture books all the way up to young adults. So I have a young adult high fantasy series. I have a young adult dystopian series. I have picture books. And then I'm starting into middle grade. So when you ask me what I write, not for adults, but anything below that.
I like that answer. Yeah.
Most young adult readers, well, not maybe most, but a large chunk of young adult readers are actually, adult,
my age. They're actually my age.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in their 30s. Yeah. So technically you do, but that's not your target market. So
my protagonists are not adults.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
I love it. So what made you evolve, right, from picture books all the way up to young adult? What was that kind of evolution process for you? Did you go backwards? Did you go up to young adult? What was that for you?
It's been a little cyclical. So I started writing when I was 17. And so my Imagine series, the protagonists are young because I was young. I think adults can write children, but I don't know. I don't think I could have, as a child, a teenager, written adults. So yeah. I was a young adult writing young adult. And then I started into teaching, and I taught, junior high, middle school, right? So I wrote for that age group or slightly above. And when my daughter came along, she didn't really understand what mommy did. Where are the pictures? What is happening? So then I made a picture book for her, and I thought she'd be all excited. I was like, look, it's got pictures. It's got words. These are the books you read. And she looked at the back cover where it has like my author photo. And she said, well, how come there you're pretty? So I'm ready for teenage years. I'm ready. And so kids are just
mean.
Kids are just like that.
Kids are mean. I have a 4 and a 3-year-old, and my daughter tells me that too. Okay. Like last night after I took my makeup off, right? She's like, oh, mommy, you're not pretty anymore. It's like, what? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're brutally honest. And she was 4. She was trying to say like, look, your hair is curled and you're wearing a fancy dress and you're wearing makeup and you don't do that to pick me up from preschool. So that's what she was trying to say. Although she is a little sassy, so maybe deep down. But anyway, now she's a bit older and I've cycled my teaching, and now I have the younger readers. So right now my interests are kind of where my daughter and where my students are. So in between that picture book and then into the middle grade or early readers kind of books. So who knows where I'll be. I guess it'll depend on where they switch my teaching positions, or if I stay, or as her reading grows, or maybe I'll write for adults.
Oh my gosh, girl, just conquer everything. You never know. Maybe next you're going to do nonfiction.
Well, when I was 5, I said I was going to be an author and a fairy princess. But I was going to be an author, and I was going to write in every genre that's ever been. And I used to, in 6th grade, I had a Maria King mystery series that I was writing, in my Sharpie pens. But I don't know. I don't know if I could write every genre. I've never even read a Western, so it'd be tricky to write something that I've never read, but I guess maybe for Christmas I'll get some Westerns and I'll figure out how to write them.
Yeah. Branch out a little bit. No, I get that. So for those of you guys that don't know me, right, I'm not a writer. I work with authors. I'm not a writer. I live through you guys. You guys all get my emails. You see my grammar, my punctuation, and that's with Grammarly. Okay. They're awful. But I love to read psychological thrillers. And I feel like it's like a dark secret now that everybody knows, right? But I love to read those because it's like an escape for me, right? And I don't feel like I could ever write that. Like, I don't feel like I could ever write psychological thriller because I think I would scare myself with how like thriller psychotic my mind is. So I love that you kind of have bounced back and forth with young adult and then kids, where your daughter's at, where you're teaching, and kind of bouncing back and forth. So with that, like, my love is psychological thrillers and horrors. What would you say out of your writing for you is your most favorite to write in?
Oh, it's like picking a favorite student. I really like the dystopian. I mean, I come across, like, I'm a grade 1-2 teacher, and it's sunshine and roses all day, and I'm known for being chipper and happy. But sometimes it's just fun to go dark with your writing. And I like exploring the what if, right? And not only the what if like good, but the what if like bad. So I think dystopian has won my heart. I love writing it. I love reading it. And even if I'm delving into younger grades and slightly less sinister topics, I think I'll still venture into the dystopian world. It's just fun to try other things as well. So you never know, but that one has my heart.
Oh, I love that. So tell me about your writing process, because you're a teacher and you're a mom, right? And you're a wife and a household and everything, right? Like, I mean, I know with my 2 kids, they're 13 months apart. I'm doing good to know my name most days. So how is your writing process for you with your books?
Well, first I'll give you a tip on the name thing. If you have it on the board, it's a little bit easier. And I have a few shirts where it's on there too. So there's a tip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back and forth. I write a lot in the summer.
Okay.
I mean, I write shorter books, but I can write the majority of a young adult book I can write in the summer. And for like a middle grade or something, I can write 1 to 2 in the summer, because I have just giant chunks of time. And then in the school year, it really depends kind of where we're at. School year's just started right now, so I can write about a half an hour to an hour every night. During report card season, nothing. Christmas concert season, nothing. Field trip season, absolutely nothing. And I know that some people would get very hard on themselves with that, but I'm really not. I've done presentations about writing around the day job, and I just have to understand that there are times of the year where I will be writing a lot and that muse will be going. And there's other times where it's like, nope, I have to keep my world from falling apart and get those report cards done.
Yeah. So do you outline, or you just kind of write by the seat of your pants?
It depends on the book. And that sounds weird, but I call myself a plantser. I'm not really a pantser, and I'm not really a plantser. Some books, I know the beginning, the middle, the end. I know every character and I know everything. And some just refuse to act that way. They will only reveal themselves chapter by chapter. So in the Reborn Mark series, it did this to me and it drove me crazy until I finally just accepted it. But I would have no idea what was happening in the next chapter. Nothing. And then as soon as I was like resolving that chapter, I'd be like, oh, that happens next. And it was infuriating, but every book just goes on its different journey. So sometimes I have maps and outlines, and sometimes nothing. Absolutely nothing.
See, okay, so I failed outlines in high school. I don't know how you do, but I did. Okay, because my story never matched my outline. So I try to ask every author which one they are, or none of the above, right? Because outlines stress me out. So when you said it depends, and like the characters sometimes really drive the story and how it's going, I can relate to you on that being like infuriating. That would drive me crazy, where I would literally just feel like I needed to be in a padded room. Like I wouldn't be able to do that. So you guys, mental strength for all of you authors, right? Because your characters put you guys through hell sometimes. So my hat is off to all of you on putting up with that. But does that happen in your picture books, or is it in your young adult dystopian books that your characters tend to kind of not cooperate?
It tends to be the dystopians that they don't cooperate. And the thing is, when I work with older students, I make them outline. I'm rigorous about it, but it's really about knowing how for when you need it, right? Even just outline a chapter that you're struggling with or whatnot. My picture books, the first picture book I wrote, Winston, the well-dressed wombat, I got the inspiration from a sign that I saw, like it was election season. So I just saw this name and then I was like, what's going on with him? But my other one, my aunt has always wanted to be an author, and she's so modest and sweet, and she had written a book 20, 30 years ago and sent it to a publisher and got a rejection. So she thought, well, that's the end of that. And, I've been at this since I was 17. And so that makes me 3 whole years old, or slightly more. But because I've been through all this, and I'm like, one publisher? Do you mean like 1,000? Like, let's move some decimal places here. And I started when it was still like I was trying to write poetry, which I'm horrible at, and with my self-addressed stamped envelope and taking it to the mailbox because email hadn't really been invented yet. Shows how old I
feel like email's been along a long time though, because I also remember going to the mailbox too, and I make my kids do that with Santa letters. Like we're going tomorrow to drop off the Santa letter, so I feel like email's there. It's been as long as I have been around, and that's 31 years. And you're younger than I am.
It might be that it just wasn't used as much, right? Like I went to the library and got the big book of Canadian writers' markets and would flip through that. So,
okay.
Internet was invented when I was in high school, so super, super handy. But, I told her, I said, well, you don't have to rely on that. And so we actually self-published a picture book that was really her story. And I just helped edit and facilitate how to get illustrators, how to get all that stuff. And so it's really more her story than mine. And so it's one we co-wrote together. And so that one's really special. And that one she writes differently than I do. So she had it all planned out.
Nice. Well, no, I mean, I don't know when the internet came out. I remember dial up with AOL Instant Messenger, and you hoped all your friends came on. And I was like 12, I think.
I'm pretty sure I was one of the first 5 people on Facebook. Like, I wonder if I get a prize or like a special membership. I'm not sure.
You should get a prize. I feel like the first people that helped push out Facebook and make it popular, they should all get something. Like YouTube sends you those, what is it, those plaques that you get? I feel like everybody should get one of those that was on Facebook back when it was only college kids that could be on it. You had to have a college email or something.
I had a choice. I could have made a MySpace page, which I never did, or I went Facebook. So I don't know. Where's my reward or my award?
I remember MySpace, you can control the music, and I'd be stuck in hours trying to figure out the right theme and music. I kind of miss MySpace sometimes, for sure. But that's dating myself. I mean, I'll tell you my age, but still, I miss MySpace for sure. But it's the holiday season. So tell everybody what your holiday promotion is this holiday season.
Well, see, I am a teacher of those, really little, those great, grade 1, 2s, those, age 6 and 7s. And especially with my grade 1s, come Christmas, they've actually picked up the skills to read and do it on their own. Or if they're slightly older, they're starting to ask for books. and they want that's on their Christmas list. And of course, because I always have to have a shout out to my aunt, I thought we'd put our book that we wrote together, Bactavia Bat and the Search for a Hat. It's just a fun little romp, and for just $3, your kid's tooth fairy money, they can get their print copy of that story, so they can start their own libraries.
Oh, I love it. I need that book. My daughters would love that book. So I definitely need that book. But thanks for taking time out of your evening to come and hang out with us. It's always so much fun.
Thanks for having me. It was very fun. It only slightly triggered my arachnophobia, but I'm good.
Well, at least it was just slightly. It was just slightly. Well, you guys, Valerie Sweden is up next, and she could not join us live this evening. So me and her got together earlier in December to record what her holiday promotion is. So it never gets easier watching yourself, but I am learning to adjust to it. So without further ado, let me pull up Valerie Sweden. Hey, everybody. I have Valerie Sweden joining me on the 12 Days of Page Turners. Unfortunately, she could not be with us live on December 8th. So I caught her just in time so she can still participate. So Valerie, girl, how are you?
I am so happy to be here. And it's so great to see you, Amy. I feel like I don't get to see you enough and chat with you and everybody. But it's great to be here again, especially after, we've been doing this for so many years, and I love being part of it.
I know. I'm so excited about what your holiday promotion is and everything. And I'm telling you, The Donut Tree is still my ultimate favorite book. I'm a 31-year-old and I love that children's book. So I hope that we get to talk about it. But for everybody that's listening and watching, tell everybody what genre you write in the title of some of your books.
Sure. I write in children's literature, or I guess, could you call it literature? Maybe, but it's really children's picture books, and they are so fun. I have some educational books, and then I have The Donut Tree, which you love. It's a rhyming story. The kids just love it. When they come and they read it to me, they're like, that was so good. And I'm like, oh, thank you. But, everybody likes different things. So I also have, all the books, and do you want to talk about them now, or you want to wait a minute?
No, talk about them now. I have all of your books because I am a Valerie Sweden groupie, and fan.
Thank you so much.
I have them also. Tell me all about them.
So I developed this educational series, and there they are. And these are so fun. The kids love them. The teachers love them. The librarians love them because they are what I call like realistic fiction. They have pictures of real animals with illustrations. So the kids see like what we are actually talking about. I did a lot of homework putting all these together. We have Tanzania, we have Ecuador, and we also have the brand new book, Australia. Nice. And so these are so cool. And it follows the families as they go experience the culture, the food, all the cool animals, and all the sites around them. So I really do a lot of homework, making sure everybody gets the most accurate information on what they're learning about, because it is learning. And then they're like, wow, I didn't know that animal lived there. I didn't know that animal lived there. But you know what animal lives everywhere in all three of these? A snake.
That is a true statement. Okay. Yes. I've encountered, or I've had the opportunity to speak with some people down in Australia. And I always ask them, I'm like, are your bugs like seriously as big as we see? And they're just like, what? No. I was like, I guess to them, they're not big, but to us over here, they're massive. Okay. Like I've seen photos. So, and the snakes over there, I feel like are just deadly. So it makes sense that a snake would be the common thread. Okay.
Yes. And spiders too. And also sometimes butterflies, because, there's butterflies in the rainforest. Sometimes their butterflies might be in the safari, but for sure in the outback and in the rainforest, there's butterflies, but the snakes are everywhere.
There's no escaping snakes. And I feel like, I don't know, Valerie, if you're a lot like me, but I feel like everything has like emotions and feelings. And so I feel like snakes are just like, why does no one love me? Like, I don't know. So whenever I see a snake, I'm petrified and I run away. And then I come back to it and I'm like, I'm sorry. It's nothing personal. It's just you slither. Okay. And
I can't well, some of them you don't know. You might have a reason to be scared. It might be poisonous and you just don't know. And we don't want to take a chance on that. So that's why when I go to markets, I have little stuffed snakes and everybody's like, that's the only snake that's allowed in my house. And in the book, if they're in the book, and so you can read about them, and they don't have to come to your house.
I love it. I love it. So, Valerie, have you traveled to any of these places that you write about, or is it just like a fantasy that's going to happen one day?
It is a fantasy. I'm actually a mom of 4, so we're kind of busy getting all those kids up and out and just doing all those kind of things. So maybe now we'll have some travel time. It was a bit, but I really enjoyed doing the research on it. And most of these stories are based on real, the kids inspired me. Let's put it that way, because we would go out on hikes. We would go out on trips. We would go out to the beach. We would go anywhere. And then my, thing was like, as a mom, you want to like, don't miss that. Don't miss that. Don't miss that, because there's so many cool things to see, and you want them to see it while you're there, because it might not happen again. You might not be back here again. There might be a rainbow in the sky and it's gone in 5 minutes. So you want them to see it, things like that. And that's what I point out in these books. It's like the mom says, shh, listen, because she's trying to tell them something important. And when I do presentations to the schools and all these different things, the kids are like, what?
Why are you shushing me? What's going on?
Then I read, the next few sentences are like, oh, okay, that's cool. And so that is like, the catch. Then they understand it's like, it's important. It's cool. There's really nice things to see in all these different places that you might not see anywhere else.
So I have an interesting show. Have you seen the Outback Truckers? I think it's on Netflix. That's my closest experience with the Outback. Okay. I live vicariously through these truckers that, like, I don't know, they're like hauling it over, like, I don't know, I'm going to call them like dunes and stuff. Right.
Yes.
And it's crazy. And then like there's rain. I'm just like, man, like Australia is just not forgiving. I thought Texas was brutal, but Australia, it really is not forgiving.
Yeah. And then actually I did see, there was a National Geographic show, and it was talking about the migration of the animals, which is mentioned in here. And everything they talked about in that show, it was live as the animals migrated for their annual thing to go in search of water. And I was like, that's in this book. It's here. And it's on National Geographic. How awesome is that? And,
nice.
And that's why this book was actually sold at the Houston Museum of Natural Science in their gift shop, because they have so many cool safari animals and things like that. And it hit home, right on the nail for going on a safari. It has the Big 5. It has all the cool things that kids need to see. And it has a fun fact section also, like we're in the back like that. Like that. Sorry.
Nice.
And that's why that also, I had included that in Australia, because in a children's book, you can only include so much information. So you want to tell a story, but we also want to show the really cool information about the places you want to visit.
Right. So how long did all the research for each, venture that this family goes on, how long did the research and what all was kind of entailed in the research?
Well, first you pick a destination. And then, so when you choose the destination for the story, then we're going to choose, what are we going to do at that destination? Like for Australia, I wanted to go visit the Great Barrier Reef. And then I was like, okay, then we want to do something else. So once I chose the destination, then I had to figure out, how can the story get the family to this, and then to this, and to this. So it was a lot of research and making sure I mentioned all the correct animals at the right destination, and the cultural experiences that the people are experiencing also in this story. And then there's also like a references to World Heritage sites and all these things so these are important places that people need to know about. And the kids are getting educated about them while they're learning the story, while they're having fun, seeing all the cool animals. So I would say, to answer your question, I'm sorry, it could take like a couple of months just to plot the story to be accurate to the destination with all the animals and the food and the people and everything.
Yeah. See, my daughters love when we read your shush series, is what I call it. And it's because every page they get to shush me. And they're just like, shh, mom, this is not shush, mom, stop it. Like, this is stop. What animal is this, mom? I'm like, okay, I get it. Okay, I understand. So they love that one. But the all-time favorite in my household, Valerie, is the donut tree. Like, I love sprinkles.
We love sprinkles too. And then when I introduce her, like when I'm doing a presentation, I'm like, guess what her name is? You're never going to guess. And they're like, and I said, it's Sprinkles. They're like, of course it's Sprinkles. She's the donut tree maker. And how important is that she, you know, and they're like, her outfit's really cool. I was like, I know, because as writers, we have to develop our characters. And then, you know, the illustrators they're like, how did that happen? I was like, well, when an author collaborates with an illustrator, then we're like, this is what it should look like. I was like, the tree isn't magical enough. Can we make it more magical? Her outfit needs to be more, you know, she's a donut tree maker. What is she going to wear? So we have, you know, she has a donut belt. She has all kind of cool colors, all this kind of stuff, because she's in the spirit of the donut tree itself. And then, you know, her whole mantra is sharing the donuts. And how can you not share the donuts, you know, as a donut tree maker?
Yes. My favorite part in there is she like, there's a whole saying in there where she's like, make sure that you take one for your mom too. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, you know, mama loves donuts. Yes. Take one for me. So I love it because it gives off like the Giving Tree vibes, but with donuts. And I have yet to meet a single person that doesn't like donuts. Okay. And if I find someone that doesn't like donuts, just lie to me and tell me that you like donuts. Okay. Like don't ruin that for me. But I love it because I've seen like your table display and you have like the donut, you know, the little stuffed donut and stuff. So I got my daughter's one of those. So when we read this book and it comes to that part, they give me the donut. And
they give you the donut.
You do love me. You do love me. You know? I love it. And it's a highlight for me.
And then either too, when grown-ups come to my tables at markets, and they'll be like, we'll be flipping through it, and they're like reading it, and they're like, this is making me so hungry. And I was like, okay, well, now we're gonna all hungry for donuts, and just, you know, we can get some, and then of course the little kids come up and they're trying to eat the stuffed donuts, and they're like, no, they're not real.
Like, man, she faked us out. No, I'm telling you, the next time I see you at a vendor event, I'm going to bring you a box of donuts, because every time I read that book the next day, the girl's like, can we go get donuts? And I'm like, yes, they're still open. They may not be hot, but we'll go.
Well,
that's tempt me.
My little, my cousin, she said she reads it to her littles, and then she said they'll read it for a bedtime story, and they're like, can we have donuts now? They're like, no, you're going to bed.
Yeah. Well, Valerie, on the 12 Days of Patienters, we're all about holiday specials this holiday season. So tell everybody what you're offering this holiday season.
Yes. So because there's 4, and I want everybody, you know, to choose like what their maybe favorite experience would be, if you want to have a little education or a lot of education or just some rhyming fun with donuts. So I'm going to do a BOGO special. You choose which book you want first, and then the second one will be 50% off. And I'm going to have you guys contact me through Instagram at @vsweeten, and then just send me a message, and I can do free shipping. Yes, ma'am. Because that is how we live in this society, with free shipping.
Nice. I love it. Valerie, I'm so glad that we could get together so you could still be a part of it. I love when I get to talk to you, and it is not as often as I wish I could. So thanks for taking time out to come and just be a part of the 12 days with us.
Okay. Thank you for having me. It's always my pleasure to be with y'all.
Okay, I remember to unmute myself. But you guys, it doesn't ever get easier watching yourself do an interview, but at least I can laugh at and with myself. But as promised, you guys, we had 5 amazing authors and amazing holiday promotions. So make sure that you take advantage of all of these holiday promotions that are going on. It's in the copy section up above, and it's in the comment section with the links to take you directly to every one of these holiday promotions. Because remember, the best gift that you can give this holiday season is a new book, a chance to escape reality or tap into their dark side and their dark fantasy. But until next time, which is tomorrow, we will have 4 more amazing authors and more holiday specials. Until then,